Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to pitch Uncommon Con. Kind of a weird, goofy title because it I don't feel exactly works, but then also it's not the Common Con, it's the Uncommon Con. Uh, for obvious reasons, because it brings forth almost the end of the world. Funny enough. So I've gone on and I've probably created a number of other stories before coming to this one. Like Playing God was kind of like a video game themed story that I feel didn't have much legs because at some point it was to kind of be like Hunger Games or Sword Art Online or a number of other things. Uh, but it still can just kind of still exist and be its own thing at some point. Unstoppable, a character that has ultimate power but doesn't want any of the credit, so he has uh, another man in a suit uh, really be the guy that gets all the credit. But then this reporter is to realize, like, well, hey, like, why is this guy at every single one of this hero's scenes? Like, even the ones that are to be like well out of country, well out of uh like logical, like, how is this guy there every single time? Like, I had to go on and I had to get a helicopter to get to this one uh like this one battle. Like, this guy, he just is there every single time. How is this possible? And that's what kind of spuns this story, to have this kind of ultimate being be like, oh, well, this girl is taking interest in me. I'm going to take interest in her and try and stop her from getting out this story. But then also, like, coming clean with her because he doesn't really care. He has this ultimate power. It's like, you know what? Like, I could, in 10 seconds, just wipe your brain and, like, be done with you or make you disappear with a snap. But, like, I'm not going to take that path. I'm not going to take that journey. But so, and also we have a character that is to be Sky Absolute, I think. Or maybe it was just named Absolute because his catchphrase would be absolutely. Would be the kind of the one name thing that he would always be like, hey, like, can you go on and can you get this cat out of the tree? Absolutely, yeah, or absolute. So, like, I think he was called like Mr. Absolute or Captain Absolute or some goofy thing like that. I don't know, but Sky Absolute sounds pretty good. I don't know. So getting into the real story here of why we're possibly here. If you go on and click on this, I really do appreciate it. And listen, however, you can go on and do that. So, Uncommon Con is a story that is really just tying into a god. Because, man, do I always like these, like, real supernatural curves of story. So, come to find out, there is a god of design and creativity. Asbestos? Is that his name? Sounds like asbestos, but to each their own with names. I'm sorry, the god of design and creativity, for mocking you in any kind of form or fashion. Because without you, I would not be able to come up with a video for this day. So, really, like, we could have this god come to an ultimate frustrational point. Because this god had looked at the human race and tried to figure out ways to slow them down in their progressions. Because this god has to go through and kind of fact check, double back, and, like, okay every single weird, goofy thing anybody is to have ever thought of in their life to turn around and then like put pen to paper on it, and he is to have to just like, man, like this person really coming up with this today, like this guy wants to become a fish. No, like this character wants to go on and make a whole story about a Comic-Con convention. Okay, like I'll let it slide today, but maybe tomorrow, I don't know about that. So we have this god that has gone on to slow us down as a human race, to take away audio for the longest time in black and white films, to then give us that audio finally, to think like, oh yeah, like they're not going to come up with anything with that, but then we further progress, and so god is just, this god is like, well, man, like what can I do now to just kind of stymie their process? And so this god had come up with like, well, hey, how about I just like force them to reboot or remake the same old ideas and come up with them again. Like that'll go on and just have my process of elimination and whatever, like that'll be easy. Like that'll be so much easier. But then like that fad only lasted so far. And so now this god is like, man, like now these people are just coming up with these just like so far out their ideas, and now we have like so many places for like the human race to release these ideas so conveniently, and so like much so that like I can't take it anymore. Like I can't go on and want to look over and want to just okay every single goofy thing that is to just pop out of someone's brain this day. And we also get the god of design and creativity, who is to finally have a person who cannot go on and reveal absolute truth, which absolute truth is something that is to have been probably in uh, this god's eyes to have possibly have been what the Bible was. That was absolute truth. And really, like, that god was just kind of like, ugh. Like, I don't know if I can go on and to have had that book exist, but that book only really exists in uh, a certain location, like that worships it, and every once in a while, like this book will be found elsewhere, but like I'll let that one book, like I'll let it just simmer and like and let that just kind of subside. But then we have a character coming in who's again tipping the hourglass into a story that is to be again absolute truth, to where our god is to just be like, no, 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 like I let something slide before this one. No, like this is like, this is revealing the afterlife. This is revealing what bumps in the night. Like this is revealing a person that like we kind of thought was this kind of fun misfitted character that it seems, is going on and revealing all to people, like as if he's Peter Parker, revealing he's Spider-Man, and like this god had also kind of just snuffed out that too. Like, I'll let Peter Parker and Spider-Man's identity be revealed for a brief moment in time, but then eventually I'm going to retcon it and change it to where people will just kind of forget that whole tale, to force, like, oh, it could be other people besides Peter Parker, so it's not Parker, it's someone else. But it eventually will be Peter Parker again at some point. But so, we have this convention, this Comic-Con, and so how I want to play this out is we technically have 3 characters, but there probably could be room for more than that. Because also, I really want, through a lot of these episodes, to just have these random celebrities just keep appearing in the show. If it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, I still just want to run with it because it would be really funny to just have a celebrity character that becomes this kind of Spinal Tap drummer kind of thing to it, where you bring in this celebrity for a very brief time in the show and they, for whatever reason, continue to get killed forcibly. Like, there's no saving the celebrity character, but also it's really just kind of funny how, like, at some points maybe the celebrity character is to have a way better outing than even the main focused characters, but still, like, they go down the same way as all the other celebrities will go on and do, really, in within these stories. And plus, also, like, it would be fun to just kind of play around with whatever random celebrity is to be in whatever uh, portions of story. It probably depends on how long that this thing is going to be, whether it's going to be a show, whether it's going to be a video game, and whatever have you. But I think it's going to always have that weird celebrity element because a convention could kind of spun out all kinds of things. But so we have these 3 main characters, and one of them has to be a character that I've been selling for a very long time now. Let's say it. It's the Grim Death character. It's the character that we come to find has a shadow to itself. Like, say, if the Sand character, the Sand Wicked character, is to be wearing all white, the shadow wears all black. If the character wears black, the shadow wears white, and so on, so forth. So, but this character is to have people that he knows, people that are going to go with him on this journey. And, like, that's what starts to, like, spun out all these kind of fun ideas. So there is this character that I came up with today, pretty much, a character called Retro. So we come to find that at some point, like, this god is just allowing everything to happen, and, like, he's not signing anything. Like, he's not gonna just, like, if somebody wants to wake up one day and just be a fish, this god will just allow it. He doesn't care anymore. Like, he's not putting anything to okay or say no to anymore. So we have Retro, and Retro is, in all honesty, like, I feel like his clothes set is gonna really just kind of look like a boombox in a lot of ways. Like, this man is gonna like head to toe like a boombox almost. But, like, I feel that he's gonna have just these kind of very throwbackish like attires because his name is Retro. So Retro will come to find, by the time that this crisis event really starts, that his power is going to have the ability and I'm not quite even sure if it's going to be a guy or not, but like if anything, I think in my brain I've already kind of casted who this probably could be, even though rationally, like, there's no way. Um, I feel that this character will have the ability to rewind things. Maybe not like rewind to have this crisis event stop happening. No, like I feel that this character will have a decent window to prevent something from happening, but also like he's obviously not going to try and stop these celebrities from dying. Like he'll realize probably that that's an inevitable thing because at some point in time of movies like watching like Time Machine, like there are certain events that like are undeniable that they will happen like no matter how many times you go back. Like that's what we start to eventually figure out in like the Flash movie where like the Flash tries to go on and he like tries to stop Batman Michael Keaton and the Supergirl from heading to where they head by the end of that movie. And the Flash then realizes, like, well, like, there's nothing I can do but to just have these characters go the way they go and have me need to realize that I should not have gone on and change the past like I had done. And that creates flashpoints. So we have Retro who can rewind time to a certain point, and he's definitely not going to have a speed force. He's not going to like he needs to run every time to be able to rewind time. No, like this character is not also going to have some goofy time gadget whatever. Like no, like this character is just going to have the ability to rewind time when they deem so, when they figure out this power. So we also have that, and we have a character that I'm honestly very unsure about. But this character is to honestly just be called. It's going to be a female character, and this character is going to be Boulder. So Boulder is a character that has gone on and like for the longest time been selling this one character, which is to be like this Boulder Babe. I don't know if that's going to be the name of it. I think it's going to be Boulder or Boulder Babe. I'm not quite sure. Or Boulder Gal. Uh, Boulder Babe sounds better. But so we come to find that this character may be quite similar to maybe the Thing in the way in a ways, but not exactly. Because this character is to have this like rock hard like skin, so almost like the Thing, but uh, we have this character that is very much kind of treated like a barbed wire character, or like barbed wire character meaning like Pamela Anderson was in this movie Barbed Wire, and like that's what I'm kind of feeling that like this character is going to be like in my mind. Like Boulder Babe is probably going to eventually be kind of like how Barbarella was, where it's like putting this character in this very bizarre adventure for monetizable reasons. So, like, this character eventually is to the Boulder Babe is to kind of meet up with the other two because they, of course, are very famous in their own right. Retro, we come to find, like, is to be a guy that is to kind of live in the past. So, uh, we'll really have like San, who's eventually going to be Grimdeath at some point. San is gonna say to who's the kind of the movie costume guy, who is the rubber monster man of the past. we used to say like how Retro is to have been a guy that is to like know so much, like he's to be a history buff. He knows all of the dead languages, hence why he's Retro. And like Retro is to just be this guy that uh, that consistently, for one reason or another, that Stan has had to go to continue on his side hustle, which of course is to be the Grimdeath character, the supernatural character. Because hey, not all of us can easily speak Latin. Hey, Retro, can you read this book of this dead language and tell me what's going on? I need to know because I'm on a case. But so how we go on to like go into this story is we've had San that had been consistently like called out to be a part of these films and a part of these shows. And so San goes to these locations, he goes to these film sites and realize that all of these things are to eventually be a way of stopping San from getting to this convention, from like him being forced to do this movie instead of like revealing this story to the world of like his true nature, his true, his absolute truth of that he's been going on and been this Reaper character that he has had to kind of forcibly share his life with his shadow, which his shadow is to be his soul that goes on and talks to him. That is to kind of be a very much Ghost Rider-esque like character. Yada yada. It's this character has like a whole entire uh, like story before we get to the real crisis thing. So maybe at some points we can almost have this be like an Arrow thing going on where we have two stories going on simultaneously that covers uh, both the the Sand Grimdeath story separately and then the convention story also, or either way, like we can tell one story in the other. It is what it is. I think people will probably hate the fact that it's two different stories because people will probably just go on and want one or the other, not both. So, because selective, or people may fast forward past the one story to just kind of get more out of the other. But so we have these three characters making their way to this convention, and this god is to be on top of this convention and is to put its foot down. And that foot being put down is to unlock all of these demon doors, is to lock everything that anybody had ever gone on and come up with in this world, have it all come to life and wreak havoc. So, for example, random example, like our characters are to eventually, like out of the chaos of this convention just really popping off in a very bad way, eventually they're going to have to go through and really like first like focus on this whole convention and make sure that this convention is a place that they can like kind of need to kill what they need to kill and kind of move on. And like they're probably going to spend a lot of time in this convention cleaning it out. And then after they kind of clean it out, it's like, well, okay, like I need to go to like a Burger King to get a Whopper. I'm starved. And then so like that's where we start to get them to head forcibly in these other environments, these other locations, because they're hungry or because they need a sledgehammer or a weapon of some kind. And conveniently, a convenience store is X number of feet away, and maybe you have a whole like uh, driving level, or you have some kind of weird goofy like, okay, these people need to get from this location to that location, and here's a bunch of in that wake of that, and like it just becomes this big huge massive hurdle of a thing to get from those points. So, but also regardless, like maybe we have any number of IP that is to be placed within this story, which would be kind of fun, but also would be very much taxing to need to pay all these people to have them exist upon this one thing. Like I'm thinking, like, man, if we could have like the floodgates open of this story, I would just be like, man, what if our characters went to like first like clean out like the bathroom of this convention, to have this bathroom be on like the lowest portion of this convention, because I'm thinking like a convention can go on and be multiple layers, like could like have all of these things that eventually would not rationally make sense for a convention to really have, but still like they'll have them anyways because I would probably need them for my story to make sense. But so first they would clean out this bathroom and just be like, okay, like, well, like if we really can't go on and go anywhere else, we'll just stick at this bathroom for the night and then realize that we need to kind of move on afterwards. So the bathroom eventually like is not exactly a safe location because we also have like things kind of burrow underground, and that like wakes our characters up, and like that creates a whole nother story. So like I'm thinking like the Kevin Bacon Tremors movie where we all of a sudden have this big massive worm that just crashes through this wall and like attacks our characters, waking them up, and then we are forced to just be like mother earth, like wherever we go, like if we just take a dump, like how safe are we really? And like that's where our story just consistently just twists and turns. So like because I'm thinking like if we can go on and do anything possible, or just have to figure out ways to kind of dance around these IPs but still want them to be done, because I'm thinking like we would have our characters like when this convention starts to pop off, we start to realize that like everything is coming to life, and it's not in a good way. It's almost like the Ben Stiller like Night of the Museum thing, but not in a good way. It's kind of also like the Buffy the Vampire episode, where it's the Halloween episode where everyone who is to have been dressed in a certain costume becomes those certain things, and that's a good thing. But then also it's a bad thing. Like we have Willow, who was to have been a ghost, so she becomes a ghost. We have Xander, who is to dress up as a soldier, so he becomes a soldier, and like so we're running this story in this manner. So, like say for example, if people are to become a zombie, zombies become legit real life. If we are to have action figures of villains and heroes, again, these things all come to life. So we then go on to have like kind of the random like things that are coming into my brain, where we would have like small creatures like gremlinish looking creatures eventually attack our main characters, like making a whole level out of that. uh Eventually at some point we would of course have certain props, merchandising things, if we were to have assumed that they weren't to have been like legitimate things, like we then would uh like have those things become real. Like of course, like the first thing to like be a forced thing to come to life would be a lightsaber, of course. To finally have a lightsaber that can actually legitimately chop something in half, legitimately, for story purposes. But then kind of going further to just figure out like kind of ways of kind of turning out this story. So everything is coming to life. So if some random douchebag one day is to have been dressed as a gargoyle, gargoyles are coming to life. A person is to become a legitimate gargoyle and is to start to fly and grab people and murder them horrifically. Everything's coming to life. So while our three characters are to have just have thought that this is going to be a normal convention day, they all come early and they're all kind of getting like prepared for their signings and like their action figures if they even have them, uh and they're all just kind of waiting for this all to open, and then when it opens, chaos ensues. So we would have both Retro and San that doesn't have like a legit nickname at first, but then eventually he'll get one. So I'm calling him San because he's just the monster man. Like so San the Monster Man, I guess that's probably what his nickname will be until he becomes the other character, his shadowed side, the Grim Death character. So San and Retro kind of are to always have like a thing side by side with one another, for whatever reason. And once this chaos starts to happen, they run off and they run off to this kind of like just kind of like stairwell like area, and they're watching as people are getting killed. Like people are getting torn in half, celebrities are getting murdered, and both our main characters are to be heartbroken watching this carnage play out. And so Retro is like, well, hey, should we do something? And so San is like, no, like this is like this is far this is far too big, like a scale for us to like really try to fight out our own. Like we really probably have to just kind of wait things out to maybe like the dust settles and like kind of see like who makes it out of this. Because like yeah, like the Grim Death character, when he switches, like he'll have a decent amount of powers, but like this is full blown like an event that like he himself just can't like all handle in one fell swoop. Like he's not that good with these powers. And also like when eventually you get like the Halloween door, with the real Ghostbusters, it's like for them, like they like trap a couple of ghosts here and there, but really like they're having a hard time keeping up. They're having a hard time figuring out a way to uh like handle all of this chaos. And yeah, they do get to a point where they get to the source of it all and they figure out a way to outsmart that source. But yeah, like for the meantime, like they are just kind of hanging back and just kind of taking things as they come and are to try to figure out what's really going on. So like this story is going to be that same kind of thing where like Retro is probably going to go in maybe guns blazing and hope to try to save people, but Sand is like, no, like we have to really chess move this. Like we really have to like think carefully or we're gonna die. Like, well, Retro will die, but like Sand, like he has that supernatural power that like kind of makes him immune to a lot of stuff. Like if a werewolf scratches him, like Sand can just turn into the other character and that scratch nothing. Vampire bite turns into Grim Death, immune. Kind of almost in a lot of ways like the Incredible Hulk, where Banner would turn into the Incredible Hulk and would heal Banner's broken legs or whatever ends up being the issue of Banner per those episodes. But so they're looking on at all the chaos and they're seeing their favorite celebrities get murderously killed, sadly enough. And so that makes us get to our first celebrity character, which would be insert random celebrity name here. Like, I watched Holy Moly last night. Steve Guttenberg. For whatever reason, it won't be Steve Guttenberg, but like, for whatever reason, like he'll be here with our characters because it's three men and a Boulder lady. So let's go into this. So we have our three characters, and obviously there is the concern of like, well, hey, like we know Boulder, like let's figure out where she is and let's save her, and like then let's kind of like let's regroup, uh let's figure out where we're going next after this, because obviously we gotta start to figure out like a strategy of like after we get her, like where's the steps that we're going to go into, like hey, are we hungry, are we needing to like save a bathroom from threats. So they all are forced to like realize that the only real person that they can save out of all this is Boulder, but come to find out Boulder is to come into her own powers, which she ends up becoming this like rock hard skinned character, but then is to also like have a certain assortment of rock possible power. Rock probably meaning any number of different kinds of things. I'm not quite sure exactly what that's going to be. Like we could have the rock almost being like a Black Canary Sonic Yell like thing, uh really playing up that rock thing, but we're kind of giving this character like a cluster of power to just justify this character's existence beyond her just being uh like cosmetically a good addition. Like she has to really have like a good uh thing going here. So uh and funny enough, this character had been working on this project called Boulder Babe in Space. Boulder Babe in Space. Because everybody at some point has to go into space. Jason did. So like Boulder Babe in Space was the project that Boulder was kind of pulled away from. So and probably funny enough, maybe her last name is actually Boulder, but it's spelled differently than actual Boulder. But anyways, so our three characters are three men without the Boulder baby. Uh, rejoin. They're all four of them together. Probably Steve Guttenberg sadly dies somewhere in the middle of all that. No, Steve! Don't slip and fall in the hot lava. I don't know. He dies somehow. Like, he has to die. because another celebrity just has to pop in randomly somewhere. So the three characters are to rejoin together, and Boulder is to go on and have like another celebrity with her because she took the time and saved somebody besides herself, where the other two characters were just like, well, like I only was like protecting me. And like Retro at some point is to figure out his rewind power, and Sand is just like, man, am I just chopped liver? Like, do I get any powers? And then his inner self, his shadow, is to go in and talk to him and just like, uh, and then Sand is like, oh yeah, that, like, I already have that. Well, before I came here, I had that. So, like, all of this stuff is just starting to pop off now. And so like before we even are to have gotten started uh with this whole convention thing, like I guess we can give like some time before, when Retro and San had met together and were kind of making their way to some toy store before the convention, because they like to collect things together. So the two of them are going to this toy store, and San is stopped by his shadow. And because San is to see the reflection of his shadow self, uh, and he is to go on and just stop. Just like, hey man, like I gotta tie my shoe, like I'll be right behind you. And so San is going on and talking to his shadow, and his shadow is to say that's like, well, hey, like I don't know who we like ticked off, but like me over here in the mirror realm here, the mirror realm, like I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. Like I'm hearing because we don't see our reflection all the time. We don't see our shadow all the time. So like it has to go somewhere. It has to talk to somebody. So our shadow is to go on and say it's like, well, hey, like something like I feel is near. Like I don't know exactly what, but like, hey man, like be on your toes, or maybe I should go on and maybe I should start doing the heavy lifting. And Santa's like, no, 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 like I've seen you do heavy lifting, and you're like a bull in a china shop. So no, like I'll call upon you when I feel the time is dire, but like I'm still holding the reins here. So we have San, and like it's starting to get to that morphin time, if you know what I mean. Like San will eventually get to these more and more kind of chaotic moments where it feels that he should go on and go from being San to then this other character, the Shadow character, and realize that he needs to go on and do this to save his friends, to save the cheerleader, to save the world. So maybe that's the celebrity. Maybe it's Hayden Panettiere or whatever. I don't know. The cheerleader from Heroes. Uh, that'll be the next celebrity. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Joe McHale. Maybe he'll be available for the show. I don't know. Maybe it'll be King Jong. I don't know. Maybe it'll be any number of random celebrities that honestly don't make sense for them to even be at a Comic Con, but they're there anyways. Ronda Rousey. I don't know. Celebrity that is to have gone on and had an existence in any means of whatever. They have their own just celebrity. OK Gamer, up, up, down, down. whoever. Maybe it's somebody that's just social media popular enough to just garner them being on the show as the celebrity guy. And you have one point where like we legit have like the main character Sam, or when eventually he turns into Grimdeath, and he kind of stays into that character because I feel like that's how it's kind of built to eventually uh, be that this character is going to have to stay into this oneself because chaos is just popping off everywhere they turn. So we could have any means of characters being spun upon this story, but then also we're gonna have like these such weak celebrity characters to where like our main is to just turn around and just be like, you, who the are you? It's like, oh well, I was called to be like your celebrity guest star, whatever, and like man, one, you're breaking the fourth wall, but then also like I don't think you're really that popular. And then like by the time that they go on and they start to bicker, like we just have like this monster that is kind of crawling up this person's back, killing them, and just being like, well, like that was a waste. Like let me get my agent on the line. And like we run this whole joke about it, and like uh and we're like really breaking the fourth wall here, but we're doing it temporarily, and then we're gonna forget about that we broke the fourth wall. So because I feel that the Grimdeath character is probably going to be very much more a character that is to just kind of break the fourth wall, but then also is to continue to just kind of mock people and make fun of them, and is to almost somewhat kind of be, in some ways, like a lot of kind of superhero-ish things kind of rolled into one. Like at some point, he's going to be uh, like yeah, like a Ghost Rider character, but he's also going to be kind of like Deadpool mask, uh, very much like prototype video game character, uh, and whatever the scenario really needs for him to be at that moment, that's who he becomes. So, like, if you all of a sudden need a superhero to like to fly around, like that's who he just becomes for that moment, the character that flies. But otherwise, Stan is to have his three group of three, his three amigos, and we get to a point where like okay, like they gotten some food and there was some chaos there, but Sand still thought it was manageable. Uh, they got to a bathroom, and the bathroom, it seems like there eventually was some kind of manageable things there, or really there was just one bathroom stall where they just like, you know what, we're just gonna not open that one today. But eventually, like Grimdeath will open it later and just kill that character, and just be like, okay, like we've dealt with that. So, but then San, after like okay, we've kind of cleared these two spots. Now like we gotta really clear out this convention. So that's where we get into the bigger threats, the gargoyles, the possible werewolf characters, the big gruesome-ish like final boss like characters, but not the big god final boss. Just a number of just kind of obstacle courses that these people have to just kind of jump over to get through to the next level of things. So let's say, for example, gremlins. We'll have a bunch of gremlins, and our characters are to have to kind of smack them around. But then that's not good enough. We have like a huge, massive gargoyle, and so it's like, okay, like how are we gonna take this down? Like this thing freaking flies. And at some point, like it's completely made out of stone for the most point. Like so, and also we can break the fourth wall to be like, hey, why did you make this character made out of stone? Why, developer? Why, creator? Why? So this gargoyle is just not having it. Like you jump on the thing and like it like kind of just thrusts back and forth and shakes it off. So you're like, okay, like what can I do? Because we don't have exactly like bombs here. So we have a point with our characters where they they eventually start to realize that they can start to use certain merchandisal props to help him out in this scenario. They start to realize that like the sledgehammers from so and so movie that they thought were fake sledgehammers or rubber ones are actually to hold some weight. So they're like, okay, like I feel that we can kind of make some damage to this being, but like so we come to find out after every single death that all of these creatures are to go on and be, we come to find out that every time a death is to happen, a devil or an angel is to be revealed afterwards. She's like, wait a minute, I thought that was just some dude or some chick. But no, it ends up just kind of being instead like so many things were just kind of swapped out in this for instance. And we come to find out that like killing that gargoyle was killing a demon or an angel. And so like that's where when Grimdeath is to finally unleash himself and is to start to use his powers, uh like his fire breath or uh I feel that all that every single one of these like supernatural characters always have to have like a chain with them, but uh I feel bizarrely that this character is going to use like bats, like whether it's to be like the Walking Dead Lucille bat, because we're using merchandise props, uh, like and again like he can take every single one of these like kind of toy things and like turn them into real legit props and kind of play around with it. So the grim death character becomes a grim death character for this big fight out, this big foe, taking him down with the sledge and the hammer, and maybe even at some point like uh how this character eventually creates these kind of bone like things, like these very thickened bone tools at some point, maybe, to where he can have. I'm just kind of thinking this off the fly here, like bone gloves. This character has created bone gloves, so he creates bone gloves and he starts punching away at this thing. Starts to really, slowly but surely, uh, start to pound it down. And we would also have at some point where our character can like create like protective things for its friends at some point. So like if someone is to go in and actually need like bone armor, like I'm assuming that for the time being that the grim death character can create these things, but also like this character is to not really play it nice or to play it safe. This character is to just kind of be uh I would say he's kind of like a King Kong or a Godzilla or a Hulk like character, where like once he's kind of in play, uh, like just kind of aim him at whatever and just kind of see the chaos in the wake of that. But hey, like also at some point, like the further the story like plays out, the more that this character, it seems, is to have much more of a like a grip uh on its own, of like kind of talking to the other character, but kind of moving on. So after it seems that we kind of eventually, once we get through all these final bosses of this convention, and very much this is to almost kind of play out as like Dead Rising 2. I just realized that, but like I don't think it's like exactly the same, because that is just a I think that place is kind of more of like arena, but then it also has this big massive uh like locale. So yeah, I don't think it's exactly, it's fairly similar, but like the story doesn't have it to where you consistently have a character who goes to uh this one top level and then goes down to the rest of them, like the whatever the mall is. Like that's not how I would play out this story, because it doesn't rationally make sense. Like me, I'm just thinking like just go to like a bathroom or go to like one uh certain place and then just start to uh like go from like, well, we have to figure out a way to kill all these items. We have to go and take out all these pieces. So we would of course go on after the gargoyles and the final bosses, and this whole convention is clean and clear. It's clear, like the poltergeist lady. We then would realize, like, well, hey, like since this convention seems to be now home base, uh, like what about all the other people that we've kind of uh left outside and left to their own demise and devices and whatever, like because this is not, excuse me, this is not just contained inside this one area. It's basically all around the world. So we then would go, okay, like let's go to this one store, because this one store is going to have more efficient uh, food, or it's going to have more efficient weaponry. And so the further and further our characters go, the more they realize they need to go to certain locations uh, for maybe even certain special artifacts, or uh, ancestral pieces. Kind of figuring, I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out the perfect kind of phrasing for that. Uh, but uh, maybe it's to be an ancestral weapon, ancestor weapon. I don't know, but we would have our character like realizing that it needs, like, oh, I need this one weapon because it's going to help us even better, because uh, it's a straight jacket. Oh yeah, a straight jacket will be an ancestor weapon. How could a straight jacket be a weapon? Well, um, like while wearing this, like the straight jacket goes on to make a person less scared, a person less fearful, because maybe sanity will have some kind of play in this story, as well as also uh, like food and drink and all that other kind of survival crafting story crap that always goes into everything, because really, like, it just piles on. It's like, oh well, yeah, like if you fighting like so and so monstrous thing is not hard enough, like you also have to uh realize that you only ate like an apple and this and that, so like your health is eventually gonna start tick away, uh because you decided to just not eat enough this day. But so after we start to accumulate some ancestral weapons, maybe that's what I'll say, ancestral weapons sounds interestingly enough said. uh the ancestral weapons don't eventually go on and just make somebody a god by any means once they collect them all together, and like it's as if it's like it makes a team or one individual very strong stacking them all together, but still, like when eventually you get to the god character, it's not like, oh, like I can just like one swipe hit this god and just wipe him out. No. Eventually it gets the build up to that. So when eventually we get to the god character, like I think it's gonna be one of those where like you don't exactly beat the god because the god has to continue to exist. So like it's kind of like a wear it down kind of system, where it's like you're gonna wear out the god and then just be like, well, okay, like this isn't working, like we're gonna have to turn around and just like have to make a deal with this and that to finally like I feel that it's gonna come to the conclusion that the character is gonna have to figure out a way to like pay Peter to stop Paul kind of thing. So maybe our Grimdeath character is going to have to make a deal with the devil, or is going to have to uh, like have maybe angels or something along those lines like come down and help them in this situation. But then like there's going to have to be like hazard pay at the end of it all, to where it's like, okay, well, yeah, like hey, we came to help you, but there's going to be a price after that, and just be like, well, yeah, like I kind of figured that there would be, but you're never going to see that actual price getting paid. Or really, like we're going to have a whole nother season of this where like we're going to have our main character, the Grimdeath character, just kind of going back on his own, or going back into this convention, and like what's going to be the different twist, what's going to be the different, like it can't be the same god wreaking havoc again, because that would just be the same exact story. Or uh we could do like a rewind, or yeah, we could have retro rewind the whole story and do like a new game plus, where like we kind of find out that there like is a convention thing going on, and like but there's a whole new brand new story. We come to find that there is just some other god out there that is ticked for whatever reason, and like the convention again is this still this cattle prod, or this still this lightning rod, and it forces our characters to now be like dancing through all of this again. Maybe not, Boulder Babe, maybe there's going to be a legitimate other kind of characters in here that are probably not to really be sold as just like these goofy-eshed like characters, but I don't know. It's kind of like I was just kind of really just brainstorming and just kind of really thinking that's kind of what came out. Excuse me. But also maybe we don't have a celebrity character. Maybe we have like somebody who uh consistently comes back, but then is to be kind of like Highlander. That would be kind of funny. We kill that one character off every single time just for him to come back, and there's something different about him. I don't know. Haven't really thought that through, but it would still be kind of funny, like how Misfits had in its show, it had the one character that would consistently die and come back, and that I kind of thought was funny for that story. So, uh, yeah, like I'm still kind of working this story out. I really am still working on it. So even when I'm putting out this video, I feel like I'm probably gonna put out in the future maybe several others. But like, really, this is kind of a whole like Night of the Museum Buffy episode, and like really a lot of it wasn't exactly concrete uh, of like how this is all gonna play out, but like I feel like I got the real like meat and potatoes of like how this is gonna be like the main parts of it are gonna be executed. But anyways, with that said, I think it's about that time to just kind of wrap this bad boy up because it's I've been talking about this for an hour and I probably should be going on and talking about other things, obviously. But with that said, I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, buddy.